All right, and here we are again with day number 5 of our live stream, the Daily Knime. And today we are going to cover a little bit more of the basics because I think it is maybe not 100% sure because of the recent episodes why you as a finance professional, as a procurement professional, should use Knime. And that is what we're going to cover today. So, first we will show off a few use cases, or not show off, but explain what potential use cases for procurement professionals will be. And then we'll go into the comparison of some of the few functions of Knime that we use more often in Knime when automating and digitizing our daily procurement work. Okay, so let's head over to the screen. So in a nutshell, Knime is an open source platform that makes advanced technologies like robots, like automation, like artificial intelligence or machine learning easy to use. And from my non-data scientist perspective, I think there are three main categories, or three categories that are very important for the use of Knime. And the very first one is something we have already talked before in episode 1, and that is actually automation. Well, with Knime, you could do a lot of data cleansing, a lot of exchanging commas with dots and so on, spreadsheet work, reporting, automated. You could also automate web scraping, for example, supplier analysis and this kind of stuff. The second level maybe then is text analysis. So you could use built-in text analysis function of Knime to do supplier reviews, to collect automatically what they are posting on the web, what they are currently doing, how they present themselves, where are they growing. You could do sentiment analysis. For example, how do others see your suppliers? How do others see you as a buying company and so on? And you can also do mass data analysis, for example, reading large PDF files automatically and giving you the key terms. And the third and maybe most advanced technique that you can use in Knime is basically prediction and machine learning. For example, you could have a look at what purchase orders will be problematic, what's trending online, what are important growing markets, maybe also for you, what markets get scarce, and so on. And the interesting thing about Knime really is that once you have learned the basics, the basic visual language of Knime, you have very good groundwork to start from there and use the same logic in all kinds of use cases. So when we're looking at Knime, like we did in the previous videos, the traffic light system is always the same. The console that gives you feedback on your nodes and how they have been executed is always the same. So you can apply this basic knowledge that you maybe gathered through data cleansing tasks and use that in additional or more advanced tasks. Okay, so to stay not too long on the theoretical level, I'd like to go with you through an example workflow that I have created that shows some very common tasks that we usually do, especially from this area here. Just a moment. From this area here, so the automation part, if you want. Let's just switch over to Knime and let's go through some of the nodes and some of the things that we have created. And as always, you can download the files over at procurementzen.com/thedailyKnime, and you will find also a link to that in the description below this video if you're watching the recording. And yeah, let's just switch over to the screen one more time. and then just see some basic use cases. And by the way, I'm doing this video for my buddy Tom, whom I wanted to show this live. We got in contact over Reddit. So Tom, I'm doing this for you. I'm sorry that I could not be available, but of course it's maybe also interesting for everybody else. All right? Okay, so let's head over to the screen. So let's call Knime. Here it is. And let's just have a look at some of the standards nodes that you can find here. For example, let's start with the Excel reader. I have labeled them basically with what they do. The Excel reader imports Excel files into Knime, and we have covered that in the first and in additional videos also during the previous episodes that we did. So let's just have a look. We basically have an example data set, and once more, it's all available through the link in the description over at my procurementzen.com website. And we just import data, right? Okay, the very next thing is maybe we want to exclude some columns that are not interesting to us. These days, I found that quite a lot of reporting tools that are used on enterprise level do have a lot of columns that maybe that are not necessary for you. So for that, you would use a column filter, and it's quite easy. As you can see here, maybe all these columns, the PO number, the cost center, the demand text, the supplier, the value, the delivery date, maybe that's all interesting, but maybe the demand owner, the person who raised the purchase order, is not so interesting. So basically, it has been moved to the exclude. And if you have a look at the original table, we have the demand owner here. And if we look at the executed node, filter table, you see it is now excluded. So that would be a classic data cleansing task. The next one also belongs to data cleansing. It's the row filter. It's basically the same than the column filter, just for rows in a table. And we could include or exclude. And for example, sometimes in your reporting, you might want to focus on a specific department. In my case here, on the advertising department. I only want to see POs for the advertising department. So I say, okay, the column that we want to look at is the cost center, and we want to use, and see this little drop down here, the advertising department. All right, and we want to include only advertising. We could at the same time also exclude advertising. We want to look at everything except advertising. But in this case, we just want to look at the advertising department, because procurement professionals always know advertising and Marcom is usually, let's say, they are the difficult bunch. Very creative, very difficult. All right. So let's have a look at the results table. And you see now we only have purchase orders 700 here from advertising, 700 purchase orders from advertising. We could now focus on that and do further analysis like what is the biggest supplier and so on. The next one is also very interesting, and during my quote-unquote Excel live, maybe the most asked question I have heard is, how do you do VLOOKUP? Well, you could do basically the same here in Knime using what is called a joiner node, because you join two tables. We have the first input table here, our basic data, and we want to add, for example, I don't know, the locations. We have here department locations. If you look here, you see that here is the cost center and where they are located, in which city, right? And then we could just use a joiner node and say, okay, match all where the cost center is the same, and using a full auto join mean add the additional column, in this case, the location, to the table. All right, and let's just have a look at the result. And you see now all of a sudden we have all the locations here. The next step is applying conditional logic, and we have covered that before when we did our quarterly analysis in one of the previous episodes, but let's just show you another example. For example, just a moment, we here want to determine if a PO, a purchase order, is strategic or not, and a common approach here usually is to do that by purchase order volume. So if the PO value is greater than 99,999, it's obviously then 100K or greater, then it's a strategic, otherwise it's operational. And we add a new column and call it demand class. Let's have a look at the results table here. And you see all of a sudden we have operational here for 25K and strategic for everything above, right? Okay, so next is we could, of course, like in Excel, sort tables. We could say, okay, we want to have the biggest purchase order on top, right? We could rather sort descending or ascending, just like in Excel, right? We keep it like this. And let's see. Now all purchase orders are ranked in a top-down view. And what we could do, for example, then if we could now apply a row filter based on values here in addition and include only our top 20 or top 10 or top 50 purchase orders based on purchase order value. So the next one is what is the Knime equivalent to pivot tables, also usually asked very often, and that is in Knime the group by node. In this regard, we want to group our pivot table or our results table by cost center. We want to see how much cost, how much PVO has been raised on a cost center base. So we say here, okay, we want to group by cost center. And what we want to group? Of course, the purchase order value here. And we want to use the aggregation method sum. So we don't want an average, which would be mean or anything else. We want the sum. You could also apply, as you can see here, all kinds of statistical measures and so on. But the sum is one of the more basic ones. All right, have a look. The result. Now we have a group table and see here the purchase order, the combined or pivoted purchase order sum or total for each department. And the last note that I wanted to show you, which also is used very often when it comes to spreadsheet automations, is basically the math formula. And what we want to do here is, for example, in the previous step, we have grouped, as you can see here, also by department. And now we want to see a share per department. And that is calculated by a simple mathematical formula. We just say, okay, take the cost center PO value and divide it by the overall PO value and then multiply it with 100 and add a new column that is called PVO share, right? And if we just have a look at this data, you see now here that the different shares. In this example, as the values are spread very evenly in our example data, it's all very close. We could now sort this descending and see, okay, obviously, as we have guessed maybe before, advertising has the biggest PVO value here with a share of 7.306%. Okay, so that covers basically the overview of a few typical tasks that you can do in Knime when you want to go to the very first level, basically, which is here this part, the automation part. And that's also a very good approach to learn Knime, because you can start on this level, learn all kinds of very easy to understand nodes, and then take that knowledge with you to the next level, as I said before. And that makes Knime so handy and so easy to understand. And of course, as we procurement people are usually always very cost sensitive, the fact that Knime for desktop is open source, is free, comes with a great community, that's usually a big advantage. You can start playing around today, basically, and you don't have to ask for any additional budget to play around with this software. So if you liked this approach, leave a comment down below. Also, as I said before, you will find the the link to the I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused now.
Oh no.
Yeah, so you will find the link to the example file that I just showed you over at procurementzen.com/the daily nine. The link is in the description below. So if you like it, make sure to subscribe to not miss out on any future episodes of the Daily Nine. So see you tomorrow. Have a great day and bye bye.